Hi, I am Aaron Orndorff, the Chief Content Officer here at the Operators Network. Welcome to Operators Assemble, our first ever growth summit. Matt, tell the people who you are, what you're doing here today, and tee them up with what to expect out of the gate.
Good to be here with everyone. Hopefully I bring enough energy to match Aaron bubbles today. I'm Matt. I'm the chief of staff here for sales. So we're an ERP handling all the fun operations and accounting side of things on the back end for brands. And really excited to be kicking off today's session. We've got a couple heavy hitters right off the bat. We've got Taylor Holloway from Common Thread Collective, and we've got Joanna Wallace from Bird Dog. So hopefully those are two heavy hitters to get us started with some growth strategy keynotes to get things going. And then afterwards, we've got a bunch of 5-minute lightning panelists, no slides, all action, one growth strategy that you can implement today to help your business grow. We're talking leaders from Katelynn, Boom Boom, Woobles, Dude Wipes, Groons, Goat Foods, Mudwater, Portland Leather, Fala, and CEV Collection. If that is not a lineup, I do not know what is.
That is the only reason we do these online, because if we assembled all of these humans in one room, it would be it would just be, we couldn't do it. We couldn't risk all of those heavy hitters in one physical location. And we're going to round this whole thing out at the very end with a fancy 15 minutes, extra special guests. So do not leave after those operator sessions. I think that is enough of a rundown for today. Matt, what do you say? Should we actually get this party started?
Let's get the party started. Let's get growing.
All right, then we're going to take Matt down and go ahead and bring on up to the stage Taylor Holloway. I don't really think Taylor, he gets enough name checks across the operators networks every show. And yeah, I don't know if he needs much of an introduction. I had something where I was going to be like, I'm still a stan because I'm a fan and I'm part of the fam. I was going to but along those lines, I don't think I want to riff on anything quite like that. Taylor, you want to make sure that we've got fabulous, and can the people hear you?
I think so. Can you got me?
Yeah. All right, sir. Take it away. I'm going to go be quiet.
Thanks, Aaron. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the world's largest e-commerce webinar. I would encourage you all to withhold tweeting right now because there's nobody available to engage it because they're all here. So great job by Aaron and team as usual. Today, I'm going to try and interact a little bit with some of the content from the operators because like Aaron said, I do get name checked a good amount. I appreciate these guys, a bunch of smart folks. It's fun to interact with them. And so I'm going to try and use some of the conversation that I've seen happen from X and other places to shape up a trend that I see happening. And maybe even more than a trend, what I'm calling a terrifying evolution. It's an analysis of how we, the e-commerce industry, progress as a species. And what I have watched play out. I'm one of the old heads now in this industry, serving this community for over 15 years now. And so I've gotten to watch play out a bunch of changes in the way that we as an industry and how e-commerce brands are built. This is a topic that has come up a lot lately. You might have interacted with this tweet from Sean, where he is basically breaking down the limitations of how much cash you can expect to take out as an e-commerce business owner at various levels of revenue and profit. And he's walking through what he calls the rough math of running an e-commerce brand to 50 million in 6 years, which is an amazing accomplishment to be able to grow a business from 0 to 50 million within 6 years. But the reality of a business that is capital intensive like e-commerce with that kind of growth rate is that you are not going to be able to produce a lot of free cash flow. And this topic, this idea of free cash flow, is something that I have watched evolve and move to the forefront of what matters inside of consumer businesses. Now, we aren't going to have time today to do the full history lesson of how we got here, but simply stated, the lack of the availability of capital forces brands to self-fund their own growth. And so what Sean is starting to illustrate is the challenges with that problem. And I'm going to sort of hit on this quickly with some more data that supports Sean's point. This is an analysis of over 500 eight-figure brands and the P&L construct of businesses. This was towards the end of 2024 when this data was pulled. But a few data points here, you can see that the median net sales margin was about 86%. The median gross margin was about 56%. The median contribution margin for these brands was about 28%. And most importantly, the median profit for the year came out to about 8%. So imagine that. All this growth, eight-figure brands, the median EBITDA, earnings before income tax depreciation and amortization, 8%. But when we think about what we just discussed, cash flow, we have to go a little bit further. We have to begin to understand a few more data points. First is cash conversion cycle. One of the limitations for the ability to produce free cash flow in e-commerce is that so much of your revenue and your cash is often tied up in inventory. So your cash conversion cycle simply refers to the time between when you place a PO till you actually realize the cash return on that asset that you purchase, your inventory. And for that same sample of 8-figure brands, the median cash conversion cycle was 92 days. So if your COGS are at 55% gross margin, that means that your days of inventory is 92 days for your cash conversion cycle. You're holding about 11% of your annual inventory, or annual revenue in inventory. So that's where your cash is tied up in this process. So what does that mean? Well, with a 55% gross margin and a 92-day cash conversion cycle, 2 to 3% of revenue in annual inventory carrying costs is a reasonable ballpark. Now, this next slide is going to get a little dense. You might need to screenshot it. I'm going to move through it fast because I have limited time. If you have to go back and listen to get the numbers exactly right, that's fine. But go with me quickly as we walk down this 8% of revenue. So remember, EBITDA, earnings before income tax depreciation and amortization. So that does not equal cash. Your relationship between free cash flow and EBITDA in e-commerce is often much lower, and I'll give you a reason why. So depreciation and amortization, subtract D&A from EBIT. Now, in e-commerce, a brand with relatively light capital assets, D&A might only be 1% of revenue or less, so EBIT might be around 7%. Now, if you take out interest expense, remember, it's part of the 2 to 3% carrying cost is financing that debt likely, or that inventory purchase. Maybe 1% of revenue is interest. Some of you have debt that could be higher. Subtracting that gets you closer to 6% for EBT, earnings before tax. Taxes, a typical 21 to 25% effective rate. You lose another 1.3 to 1.5% of revenue to taxes. That leaves you 4.5 to 5% for net income. CapEx, usually pretty light in this business, although maybe some of you are spending more on compute costs these days, who knows? But that could bring you down to somewhere between 3.5 to 4.5% of actual free cash flow that you now have cash available to do with what you want. But remember, if you are growing, you're going to have to make a purchase of inventory in excess of your present revenue value. So when revenue grows 15%, inventory and possibly accounts receivable generally scale up as well. So for a brand that holds 10 to 12% of annual revenue in inventory, that goes back to our 90-day cash conversion cycle. Growing 15% means you need an additional 1.5 to 2% of revenue invested in inventory each year. So you finance that extra working capital from your operating cash flow, which directly reduces free cash flow. If you were expecting 4% free cash flow in a no growth scenario, no growth year over year, the incremental 1.5 to 2% going into inventory could bring you down to 2% free cash flow of revenue. So that median e-commerce business, 8% EBITDA, is producing 2% free cash flow if they only want to grow 15% next year. Now, I bet most of you have growth expectations that are the larger than that. So in that scenario, 2% of revenue is distributable cash. But if that business grows faster than 30% per year, so that same median 8%, 8-figure business, 8% EBITDA, 55% gross margin, 90-day cash conversion cycle, if you have ambitions of 30% growth, your free cash flow turns negative. There are $0 to distribute under that construct. And this was the reality before. Remember 2024 data. This was the reality before this showed up and poked a giant tariff-sized hole into that P&L and reduced the efficiency for many of us as we were going along. But here's the good news. So that's the setup. That's the problem. That's what I've watched play out. But hardship is a forcing function for evolution in a capitalist society. The money finds a way. Margin finds a way. And what I'm watching play out alongside the 170 to 200 partners that we work with at any given time is brands are evolving. They are changing the way that they comprise their business to be able to optimize for cash. And that's bringing upon what I call the flow era. I believe we are presently in an era where Sean's initial tweet is becoming real for people, and it is the problem that they're beginning to address. And when you measure something, you have the capacity to change it. And what I would encourage all of you is that the flow era is brought about by a prioritization of free cash over EBITDA, over revenue growth, over everything else. You begin to orient your organization around growing that output, you too can come and join the flow era. And this is what I'm seeing, the traits of brands that have evolved in this way. There's 5 of them. 5 C's, really simple for you to remember. Clarity, constraint, capacity, channel, and category. These are the evolutionary traits of brands in the flow era. This is how they are evolving to become impactful in this space. And I'm going to go through each of them. Number 1, clarity. We're going to bring Curtis Matsko, one of the best content creators in all of ecom, from LinkedIn to X to his podcast, just fantastic. And he is a kindred spirit of mine. A lot of the work that we do mimics something that he talked about here. But I want to talk about this idea of clarity, the ability to see where you are at every given moment of the day so that you can course correct. Curtis says this, in $500 million plus in ecom sales since starting in my garage for my own company, not as an agency, the number one secret is simple, and you do not do it. We predict and track sales daily for the entire year. Yep, every day. Now, ahead of time for the next year. Step 1, how much are we going to do in revenue for the next year? 170 million. What are we planning? Now use the historical monthlies. What percent do we do each month and what is the number? Step 3, freak out. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so hard. Step 4, write it out daily for January and February. Now, these next ones are the ones that I really want you to hear here. He went step 4 twice here. Step 4, in January, what products do we need? What new launches on what days? And what are the sales events? What are missing? How can you be sure to not miss your goal? Clarity for an e-commerce business begins in the marketing calendar. All of you do not have clarity of the units of growth that are going to produce the expectation that you have in your forecast. You should be able to overlay your marketing calendar, every action that you plan to take as a business, with the corresponding effect on revenue that you plan. This is exactly what we do at CTC, is help brands to build this integration between their marketing calendar, their financial forecast, and their daily tracking of revenue, where you can see, okay, here's every action that I have planned. Here's how that overlays to all of my marketing events and the effect on contribution margin, total revenue, returning revenue, new customer revenue, AMER, total spend, channel level detail every single day, so that you have an expectation and understanding that revenue doesn't come from nowhere. Marketing actions are the atomic units of an e-commerce business. Emails, ad launches, PR hits, these are all the atomic units of growth. They are the actions, we call them the units of growth in our business. And if you want to grow into the future, you don't just get to simply change the spreadsheet. You must insert a corresponding action that has a corresponding response in order to build that future revenue. But that clarity allows you then to build an expectation of every single metric every single day. And here's the key. And if you've listened to me before, you're probably tired of hearing me say this, but I'm not going to stop. Great forecasting is an exercise in execution, not in modeling. Building that plan does one simple thing. It allows you the clarity of understanding where you are wrong so that you can course correct and become right. Number 2 evolved trait is constraint. During the era when things were really easy, coming out of 2020, I watched customer acquisition look like this. This is an example of what we call a cohort-specific view of marginal value over time. So you can see on the left-hand side, you have the acquisition month, then you have the number of new customers, then you have the CAC, then you have the first order profitability, and then you have the LTV captured over time. And what I watched happen for many brands is exactly this. You go from 2020, where most of your cohorts are wildly profitable and growing, to the next year, it becomes a little harder. CAC goes up a little, you push the value capture out further, till eventually you're getting to a place where almost none of your cohorts are profitable. And new customer acquisition is being subsidized by your returning customer revenue, and your margin is decreasing, your customer file is shrinking because you have spent way beyond the marginal frontier. But brands are getting smarter. They're beginning to understand the constraint of getting to an incremental new customer contribution view. The ability to take every channel, use geo holdout to create comparable actual causal effect on their media, and holding constraints to first order profitability. And this is one of the primary effects. The first things that we do with many of the brands that we work with is to come in and say, all right now, when we get with brands, they have this graph all the time. What this graph illustrates is 2 different views of margin. The yellow bars here are new customer contribution. This is how much contribution margin the acquisition of your new customers is generating in month 1. The blue bars then represent the total margin. And so what's happening is brands that especially grew a lot during the COVID era, they get to 8 figures and their new customer acquisition is become highly inefficient, is that they're just trading subsidization of their total margin for the acquisition of new customers. And you can see this line in the sand. This green arrow here represents the introduction of constraint. It is a decision made inside of organizations that we are no longer going to capitulate to the idea that the way we acquire new customers is by going out and producing net never profitable cohorts. We are going to draw a line in the sand, define first order profitability, introduce incremental ROAS. And what you'll see is that you can begin to immediately affect the new customer contribution margin. You have profitable new customer contribution available to you. And what it does is it grows the total margin of the business over time. And often for many brands, they are so far out beyond their marginal frontier that this comes at almost no cost to new customer revenue. Number 3, capacity. You may have seen this tweet from Cody, another one of the operator legends. He said, this year is the year of efficiency and cost cutting at Jones Road. Across the org, we have initiatives of getting and staying lean and have improved both gross margin, landed gross margin considerably, and OpEx considerably. He goes on to share a bunch of the things that he did. But what I want to show you is that it's not just him. That same sample set of 8-figure brands that I referenced before, here's what happened to their OpEx between Q2 of 2024 and Q2 of 2025. Their OpEx reduced by over 20%. People are beginning to understand that e-commerce is not a business where you create a bunch of leverage against a large full-time staff. You create a lean operating team that has immense capacity and the ability to generate leverage off of that because your cost of goods is so hard and constrained by tariffs and other limitations of the actual cost of the underlying physical asset. There's limitation to how far you can push your COGS, although you should always try and improve it. And marketing tends to be the place that you actually want to be able to outspend your competition, to be able to go win the digital real estate that's so precious to distribution. And so we're watching brands do this. They're growing their EBITDA through creating leverage in the OpEx. And I have this, what I call the e-commerce labor rule of 10. As you think about what I see inside of these brands that have evolved this leverage, it looks something like this, where about 10% of their revenue is where the labor stack gets comprised. And I would use that as payroll, agency, and software. And you can see I put this tweet out in August 2021 after seeing that data. 2 more legends from the operator's side respond. You'll see Cody says almost exactly where we're at, but a bit better on just the e-com P&L. Software's even less. Roman says we try to keep it all below 7%. If a brand is growing less than 50% a year, if growing more than 50% a year, we're okay with 8.5 to 9%. Selection bias is most brands are greater than $30 million. So as you think about what does leverage look like in the cash flow era, it's the e-com labor rule of 10, and the best are even better than that. You can see that Roman says they're trying to keep their entire labor stack, that includes payroll, agency, and software, sub 7% of revenue. So as you think about your staffing and you ask the question, and this is, as a leader, I feel this acutely, is the hardest thing for me to figure out right now is what is the appropriate expectation of capacity for my people? Here's some frameworks for you to use. Number 4, channel. And this is maybe the most powerful one, is that we have evolved out of the idea of being direct-to-consumer.com operated businesses. We are moving into what I call the digital enterprise, the ability to think about a holistic channel approach to your digital ecosystem. And it looks like this. This is the 2026 channel distribution playbook for demand and revenue flow. It begins at the top layer, TikTok shops. You've heard a lot about this year. And I'm watching the best brands that are able to drive neutral margin and top of funnel awareness through using TikTok shops to drive some demand capture. So they are selling product in the channel. This is an offset to the expense of the channel that enables the affiliate flywheel of content creation that funnels into meta ads, where your meta ad layer now becomes supplemental demand creation to drive direct transaction in 2 places. This is really important, both .com and Amazon, and measured in both places. The effect of both TikTok shops and meta ads needs to be measured in both places. As you broaden distribution, you have to broaden measurement with it. Then your website is a point of demand capture. You focus on merchandising this with things like drops or exclusives or high AOV items because you have to handle the fulfillment expense that's margin destructive. And then you have this base volume that captures all the core SKU sales, scale, repeat, revenue. But this idea, the ability to look at how TikTok shops relates to meta ads, relates to your brand website, relates to Amazon, is the 2026 distribution channel playbook. I'll give you an example of the brand that I see doing it better than anyone right now. Primal Queen. I have had an intimate view to this business because we compete against them and have learned a lesson about what they have gone off to do. If you look at this, the top layer of the funnel, TikTok shops, they dominate in this arena. You can see 33,000 units sold for their prime beef organ superfood starter kit. If you go look on the channel, you'll see lots of assets from them. And then if you look down the line, you go into Meta, they have over 2,000 ads live in their Meta ads account. A lot of them are the direct funnel of affiliate ads from their TikTok Shops channel that you'll see show up here in UGC format. Then you go onto their website, and it is a masterclass in direct response advertising, everything that you would want. We see multiple countdown timers, tickers, offers, not afraid to discount, not afraid to bundle, not afraid to put together compelling ideas of how their product's presented to a very clear persona that they're after, that they illustrate in all of the ads. And then they don't just think about this as, oh, my job is only to capture this demand on .com. They recognize that supplements get sold on Amazon, that over 50% of e-commerce transactions happen in this channel, and they are absolutely destroying the competition because the demand creation at the top of the funnel is so much greater. If you look against their largest competitors here, you see 20,000 bought in the past month versus 8, versus 900, versus 600. They are obliterating. And what I'll show you is the effect of this is that if you look at this, this is their primary competitor, a brand that we know very intimately, and the implementation of this playbook is leaving everybody in the dust. You cannot recreate the effect of awareness that's generated out of this flywheel of both marketing at the top of the funnel and distribution to capture the demand. It is key to expand both. If you want top of funnel awareness, everybody wants to be able to unlock CTV or TikTok or these other things. The key is those channels do not lead to direct response demand capture on .com efficiently enough for you to do it. You have to have broader demand cap or demand realization through Amazon.com, other online retailers, etc. But that is the playbook for channel expansion. Finally, the last thing, the evolved trait. Realizing that the core SKUs that we have, one of the problems with e-commerce is that there is basically no moat. There is no defensible barrier to entry against all competition. So in almost every product category in the world, the profits get competed down to zero over time. I'm going to use women's leggings as a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So this is a brand, born proto of ours, that we worked with for a long time, that in 2023, this was their share of business by product category.
My gosh, you are ripping. If you couldn't see me backstage, I was absolutely loving this. Go ahead, take down the screen share because we have to keep moving at a bit more of a clip. I was giving you right on top of that 10:30 spot. Sir, okay, I have got the whole slide deck. I don't know, we'll do like a Taylor Reacts video or something like that on Twitter. Because I think you had 2 more C's to go. Maybe it was
I had like 4 slides. I was so close, but it's fine.
were so
That'll
close.
be a good teaser for people to come back and get.
Absolutely ripping it. We are going to take Taylor down. We're going to bring Joanna up. Joanna, is your slide deck ready? Go ahead and make sure we've got that prepped. Throw it up.
I think we're good. Hi. Well, thank you so much for the intro. I am so happy to be here. Before we get to professional stuff, though, I really want to address the one thing that everyone on every single work call asks me before we start. The photos behind me. Let's begin. This is Monty. We think he's a long-haired dachshund Papillon mix or Baby Yoda. Yes, he has been in ads. And to be clear, this was not an artistic home decor choice. This was cold, hard creative strategy. I put these up during my agency days so strangers on client calls had something to small talk about besides time zones. I am pretty sure he's gotten me at least one job. So hi, I am Joanna. People call me Jo. I build creative teams and systems that get everyone out of survival mode and drive sustainable, real growth. I am currently the VP of Paid Creative at Bird Dogs, which is an irreverent men's clothing brand known for our shorts with a built-in liner, so you never have to wear underwear again. Here's the quick version of my backstory so you can kind of trust me. I was previously the director of paid media creative at Hexclad, where I built the in-house teams and systems from scratch. I've led paid media teams managing up to $3.5 million in monthly spend. I've been on the agency side, I've been on the consulting side, and I currently host a YouTube show called Fix It in Post with the AI footage organization platform Recharm, which is kind of like an emotional support creative strategy show. So that brings me to why we're here. I want to talk about creative testing as an operating system and like a functional one, because there is no universal how to test, though that would be lovely. I would love that. Because what works for a cookware brand with a long consideration window and frequent promos is not what works for an apparel brand with no sales and season-based hero products. Sir? Your testing system has to match your product, your price, your buyer psychology, your seasonality, and your business model. So while there isn't one magic formula for everyone, there is a system for finding which one is right for your business. But before we talk about how to run a real testing system, let's quickly talk about the vicious cycle that most teams end up stuck in. Most accounts are not operating from a strategy. They are operating from a production schedule and a little bit of panic. They're doing weekly sprints, maybe monthly, but they are not really ever having the chance to step back and say, what does the account actually need to learn next? And I really get why. This is a fast-paced, high-pressure job. We barely have time to hydrate between meetings, let alone sit down and do deep planning. So the focus becomes output, shipping more ads, instead of generating better signal. So teams start chasing the next hit, copying whatever competitors are running, and changing direction every time performance dips for 24 hours. That's not testing, that's scrambling. And to be fair, that is not a Hexclad pan, because then the scrambling would look really nice and it would be fine because it wouldn't stick. All right. And scrambling makes everyone a little insane. So leadership starts firing off 2 a.m. panic slacks and strategists have stress streams. I once literally went through a 6-month period where my husband told me that I was leading team meetings in my sleep. I was full on sprint planning in my sleep. That is not a high performance environment. That's survival mode. And smart intentional testing cannot live there. Scaling requires a repeatable system that does not rely on burnout. And when you're swinging wildly every week, the platform never learns who your customer is, and neither do you, which is kind of the whole job. So what is creative testing all about? Creative testing is not about finding the best app. It's about learning. At its core, testing should answer 5 questions. Who is buying? What problem are they trying to solve? What season or moment are they in? Are we building demand or harvesting it? And what role does each ad play in the funnel? These answers are different for every business, which is why copying somebody else's playbook almost always fails. Now let's talk about how to create a real operating system your team can actually run, and how I run my teams. So we're in mid-February right now, so let's make this useful and actionable to everyone here. Let's talk about what you should be planning now for Q2. We've got tentpoles like Mother's Day, Memorial Day, and early summer demand right around the corner. So my goal for the next few minutes is to have you leave here asking yourself, what state is my account actually in right now? And what 3 to 5 things do I need this account to learn in Q2? Those become your pillars. What's a pillar? A pillar is one big thing you want the account to learn this quarter. It can be a persona, a use case, a creative form, a tentpole, a content type. In other words, it's the one thing you are intentionally training the algorithm on. So what does this actually look like in practice? Let's compare Hexclad and Burst. So at Hexclad, a set of Q2 pillars could be Mother's Day sale, which is a tentpole. You're working on dialing in gifting urgency that actually converts. You could have non-toxic buyers, which is a persona, identifying what safety messages move this audience to purchase. And you could have Gordon Ramsay content, obviously, testing how much celebrity authority drives trust and conversion. At Bird Dogs, a spring quarter might look like golfers, which is a persona, and defining the angle that converts this specific persona, founder content, which narratives and format actually build trust, and spring wardrobe refresh, which is the use case, how men respond to seasonal need state shifts. Same structure, same time of year, different learning goal, because the product, the business model, and the buyer psychology are different. So unfortunately, once you've decided what you want your account to learn this quarter, reality kicks in. You probably don't have the budget or the bandwidth to test everything you want. This is usually a champagne taste beer budget situation. So you have to make choices. Each account has a finite budget for learning. And when I say budget here, I'm specifically talking about your meta prospecting spend, your new customer acquisition. And in practice, that budget turns into a finite number of testing slots you can support each quarter. And when I say slots, I'm talking about ad sets with a few variations inside each one. Real tests that have enough volume to actually teach you something. Some of those slots go to scaling what's already working so that the account stays stable, and the rest goes to learning what's next. So the number of pillars that you choose has to depend on the number of testing slots you realistically have. So now the question becomes, how do you split that budget between scaling and testing? Also, this is my favorite gift for the whole thing. Like, I'm just really entertained by this one. Okay. So the key is balance. If 90% of your budget goes to winners, you stop learning. If 90% goes to tests, you're basically putting it all on red. The job is balance. And yes, allocating budget to learning can feel really uncomfortable because you're spending money on things that aren't proven yet. But the alternative is also a risk because you stop finding new customers, your winners fatigue, and performance erodes anyway. So this isn't about avoiding risk. It's about choosing which risk you want to take. And that depends on the current state of your account. So this is kind of the default split that I like to think of. Most quarters, your budget is going to start around 70% testing into pillars, 30% scaling proven winners. This gives you enough fuel to discover what's next and enough consistency to keep the account stable. But this split isn't Bible. Like I said, it depends on account health and seasonality. So let's say you have a new, stale, or volatile account. You're going to want more of an 80-20 split. Maybe you're a new company. You're launching a new product. Maybe you've been around the block, but everything has stopped working. That's not necessarily bad creative or a meta bug. It's a confused account. The system doesn't actually know who your best customer is, or it's lost confidence in what used to work. So temporarily, you push more budget into new pillars because you need to build or rebuild signal and teach the system who your best customer is. So let's say you have strong evergreen winners, ads that are consistently converting, stable ROAS, predictable CPAs. First of all, take a vacation. Second of all, you can now safely shift more budget towards scaling. So you move closer to something like a 60-40 split towards testing. Your job is to keep feeding what's working and test just enough that you're not blindsided when those winners fatigue. Let's say you're in a promo window. You're not reinventing messaging, you're executing on what already works. So you keep the creative that built the demand in the first place while layering in promo creative to handle bottom of funnel urgency. And honestly, those evergreen ads will often outperform the sale creative because they're the ones that earn the click. Every single sale, I see top performing evergreen ads continue to dominate because they're doing a different job than the bottom of funnel sale ads. Those middle of funnel ads keep educating new buyers, moving people through the funnel faster, and stabilizing performance once the sale ends. So now we know what we want to learn, how much budget we have to learn it, and how much signal we can generate. So the next question is, what does good testing actually look like? I've seen a lot of people write off a pillar like, oh, spring wardrobe refresh doesn't work for us. We tested it. Friend, how did you test it? We ran one static ad set. Great. Now you learn that that particular concept doesn't work. Not that that pillar didn't work because maybe the messaging was off. Maybe the product image wasn't great. Maybe statics were the wrong format and it needed a UGC. One ad set is not a test. One ad set is one concept. If you actually want to test a pillar, you need multiple concepts with different hooks, different formats, different ways into the same audience. Because you're not testing an ad, you're testing whether there is an audience you can scale into. That's how accounts grow, not from one winning creative, but from unlocking new pockets of demand. And the only way that you unlock those pockets is with a clean signal. So to test clean, you have to keep your pillars clean. If it's a golf ad, it should stay a golf ad. Don't throw every value prop at the end of it just because somebody is still watching. I used to love doing that. I had to physically stop myself from doing that. But because in the age of Andromeda, you're not just persuading people, you're teaching the algorithm who this buyer is. And if you throw in the kitchen sink, you're just going to confuse the robots. So how does this system actually run week to week? Quarterly, you choose your 3 to 5 pillars based on what the business needs to learn next, keeping slots open for scaling existing directions. Monthly, you plan production and you make sure that every pillar is getting enough creative diversity. And then weekly, you review performance, you iterate on what's showing signal, and you feed new variations back into the system. And yes, plans can change along the way. That always happens, and that's totally fine. But starting with this structure will keep you on track so you don't get tunnel vision or start throwing spaghetti at the wall, which is a waste of carbs. So how do you know if an ad is doing work? Not every ad has to be your lowest CPA. That's why you'll see an ad pulling serious spend that doesn't have your top ROAS. It is hauling ass for the ones that do. It is the strong guy lifting the cheerleader so she can do the fancy flips. Some ads exist to warm up new buyers, set the brand tone, or train the algorithm on a new persona. So if it's earning spend from the algorithm, getting strong thumb stops, hold rates, and watch times versus your account baseline, if it's driving high quality traffic with high CTR, LPV rates, time on site, and viewers are converting later through other ads, it is doing real work, even if it never gets credit for that last click. So the real goal is not one winning. The goal is an account and a creative team that actually understands who your customers are, what they need, and when they need it. That's what scales. That's what stabilizes performance through seasonality. And that's how you grow without burning out your team or your audience. We are here to build a system that keeps uncovering new audiences and new ways to win with them quarter after quarter. And if you take nothing else from this, when you sit down on Monday morning, don't ask what ads should we test. Ask, what does my account actually need to learn next? And how do I give it enough signal to learn it? If you do that consistently, you stop guessing every week. And your account, your team, and your nervous system get a lot less chaotic, which frankly is the real KPI because none of us got into DTC to have our self-worth depend on ROAS. It does, but that's not why we got into it. So on behalf of Monty and myself, thank you.
Slow a clap for Monty, the gift game on point. I took a bunch of notes along the way as well. I cannot wait to freaking get that deck out to all the people. All right. Joanna's going to go down and we are going to move into my favorite portion of the day. The 5-minute hot seat timer, all action, no slides. First up on deck, my friend, Katie Mimari. Are you in the house, Katie? Hit that go on stage accept button when Kat prompts you for it. And all right, make sure you're unmuted. Looky here, live and in person. Now, Katie, can the people hear?
I hope so. Can they hear? Can you hear me, Aaron? That's what's important.
Loud and clear. Now, here's where I get super duper fancy. You ready for this?
Yeah.
I've got, so I can stay on screen and respond and do all of my reactions and everything like that. Now, this is going to get going when you say your very next words, Katie.
Oh,
shit. For that?
Whoa. Don't do that. I got 5 minutes. I already have anxiety from tape. Those were like, I was so engaged for both of those speakers. They were so good, Aaron. So good.
Fabulous. All right. Deep breath in. We're transitioning now. And
Right.
I'm going to hit it and pass it over to you.
Okay. 5 minutes. And you want me to talk about 20 years worth of growth. But I want to focus on what has been two things that have really been driving our growth lately and what we're leaning into this year. So a big thing for growth for us has always been product expansion. And I think it's really important to note that when I started this brand and up to probably about 30 million, we were just like a hero product kind of company. And I didn't understand how expanding my product catalog can actually like affect the two biggest numbers for us in D2C, which is LTV and AOV, which this past year, everyone knows new customer acquisition has gotten really hard. And in the last year, we've actually successfully increased both of those two metrics even more than our new customer acquisition. So imagine once we get, dialed back into new customer, having an AOV that's, I think we increased ours by like to another $10 this year, which is massive, right? At a big scale. And then increasing LTV. So product expansion, thinking about, adding not just to your catalog, but also what products are your customer going to add to cart. And Kristen, who's going to be on finance later, will talk about this, but she hates when we add new products. She's like, what is this driving? How is it going to impact ops? Where are we going to keep all the inventory? So I think it's really important as you think about new products to think about the impact, right? Because what you don't want to do is increase your product catalog. And for brands like us that already have thousands of products online, it's, you don't want to kind of diversify those dollars, right? You want it to be incremental, the word of the year that everybody likes to talk about. So it's really looking at expanding from having 1 or 2 products in your cart to having 3, 4, 5, and then also getting your customer back. So LTV. The other, I see 3 minutes. It's so nerve-wracking having a timer down on this. And then with all of your facial expressions and your hands, this is a lot of peer pressure, Aaron. The other thing we leaned into, which is, it's been a massive unlock for us, is subscription. And I want to talk about subscription for any of these brands listening that have not just one product where you ship the same thing every month. So like probably a month and a half ago, we launched subscription with this brand new startup. It's called Dough Dog, like for anybody listening. They're freaking amazing. But our problem, Aaron, was that we couldn't ship the same like children's pajama to the same customer. Like imagine if you got for your kids, right? Like the same polka dot print every month. No, thank you. I want something different. What they've dialed into for us is actually shipping something different every month to our customers. So this is like every grandma's dream, right? And it's insane. Like the take rate already. And we've gone through our first 30 days. And so we were, we're watching the numbers really close, but Yeah. I wish somebody had told me years ago that you could do subscription for apparel, because I always thought you had to be beauty or a supplement to do it. No, apparently you can be anything, because there's people out there, I think, that love your brand and want to lean into it. So we're looking forward to how that's going to impact our bottom line. I think it's going to be by the million, which is pretty freaking cool. And we'll have with growth. So, the last thing we're doing, sorry, I'm like all over the map. I'm at a minute 34 left. Okay. Product expansion, but also category expansion. So we are actually in June expanding into something that's not baby, which I think most people in e-commerce would be like, don't do that. You're supposed to stick with what you know and what your customers love. But I think that there's crossover. And so for ours, what we're expanding into, which, I don't know if I can like say it out loud, right? But I mean, you can figure it out. It's another member of the family that we're expanding into. And I think the overlap is going to be there with our existing customers. So again, another play on LTV, which is huge. Constantly thinking about, we spent so much time and effort on acquiring our customer. How do we get them back and what do they want to buy? And then also opening ourselves up to brand new audiences so that we can advertise and market to them too. Can we keep going? I have 41 seconds.
AOV, LTV, layering subscription into an apparel business and expanding not just your products, but your categories. I don't know how you did that in 4.5 minutes. Katie, you burnt it down. Come on.
No, like I want to talk as fast and Taylor
You
did.
set the stage, set the bar. I'm going to reset the timer. Katie, you are done. Go bask in those comments. Kristen is even backing you up. We're going to take Katie down and we're going to bring up Joe, the CEO of Boom Boom, one of my favorite brands dominating on retail. I've been following them since the Shark Tank days. I've been following them TikTok, especially. They're absolute monsters. John, you see how this works. You ready for me to hit go on this clock?
Ready to go. How are you,
Let's
Aaron? What's up, everybody? I'm John, the founder and CEO at Boom Boom. We're going to get super specific here, and I'm going to explain to you how to fill up a Discord with serious TikTok shop affiliates. And the reason why you want to build on Discord, just to kind of set the stage, is because that's where all of the affiliates and the creators are already hanging out. Okay. So do yourself a favor, build your community on Discord, because they're already jumping around from different groups and it just makes it easy. And you're getting a lot of organic traffic. But to break it down, it's I can do it in 5 words: momentum, money, magnet, machine, and reputation. And if you build in that order, the Discord is going to fill itself. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Momentum. You need to sprint to 5,000 orders on TikTok Shop. So turn on ads, get some reviews going, break even. You may not make any money initially, but you need to build some momentum on your shop, because affiliates want to see some momentum. They want to see velocity. It lowers their risk, right? They can work with any brand basically they want through an open plan. So make sure you are actually building some initial momentum. That's going to do more than cold DMing these affiliates, right? And so that's the first thing. Money is the second thing. So once you have some momentum, money is a motivator. And to initially get the attention of the affiliates, right? You have to realize these affiliates and creators can promote pretty much anything. So you see those big splashy campaigns on TikTok. We've done a few of them, giving away cars, giving away big bonuses. We've done our most effective ones have been giving a 50% bonus on top of their already 25% bonus or commission, right? And so you're thinking, how does that make sense? Giving away 75% commission on these sales. It doesn't make sense, right? But from a mathematical standpoint, but what you're doing is you're getting their attention and they're stopping like, oh, I should maybe participate in this campaign. Okay. So getting their attention through money. And then you have the magnet part of this. And so this is where I think a lot of brands miss or don't really think through it. You basically have this crazy big campaign going. Then you need to reach out to affiliate coaches on TikTok Shop. There are lots of groups. There's lots of creator groups. There's a lot of creator coaches. Become friends with them, get them to promote your campaign, right? Run that as an ad. Their audience, their entire audience is affiliates, is creators. So if you're getting them to promote your campaign, that is giving away 75% commission, you're going to get a lot of eyeballs on your brand. And you want to saturate the affiliate circles with this new campaign that you have going. Maybe you're new on TikTok Shop or you haven't done anything big like that. You really want to be at everybody's feed. And you do that through talking to the affiliate coaches, right? So now in the final, or I guess the second to last step is the machine, right? So how do you turn this thing into a machine? You gate everything through Discord. So you want the extra commission, you got to be in our Discord. You want, the extra bonuses, you have to be in the Discord server, right? And so that's going to actively just fill up the Discord because people are like, oh, well, I would love 50% commission or some crazy commission. They have to be in the Discord. Inside the Discord, you could spend 2 days teaching how to run a Discord effectively and building community in there, not touching on that. But you get the point, right? So you have the momentum now, you have this big money offer, you have a magnet pulling people into the Discord, you have this machine that is built. Now you have thousands of people coming into your Discord. The last thing, and probably most important in my opinion, is reputation. So we're thinking about this really long-term. After you do this big initial campaign, you're going to be like, oh my God, I have to pay all this extra cash out to these creators. Yes, you do. That is what you signed up for. Pay them immediately. Do all the checks and balances. Honor every single commitment you made. A lot of brands aren't doing this. They're kind of flaking out on terms and conditions. Maybe, some creator was like a few bucks short of the next GMV tier for the bonus. Just pay them, right? Okay, this is all about building an awesome reputation. And if you do that, the affiliate networks are very small. Your brand is going to spin up in them and everybody's going to want to work with you. That's what we've experienced at Boom Boom. And so, yeah, hopefully that is valuable for you guys, but that's how you build Discord with thousands of people through doing 1 or 2 big campaigns.
Google Boom Boom. You can find them. They win. Momentum, money, magnet, machine, reputation, which I would say maybe maintain. We got to get another fifth M in there. But we ain't got time.
I dropped the ball on that. Aaron, you can do it for me next time. Please make my presentation for me.
John. Oh man, burnt that down. 5 minutes. I'm going to put a fresh timer up. We're going to take John down. I am looking for Justine from Big Fan in my house of the Woobles. Let me tell you people, huge fan of the Woobles. Another one to go out there and Google right now. Gosh, I love your background so much. I have got such jealousy right now. Justine, are you all set?
I am all set. Can you hear me all right?
Let's hit it.
Excellent. Hello, everybody. As I'm Justine, I'm co-founder of The Woobles. We make learn to crochet kits for complete beginners, or at least we did up until around late last year. Actually, Katie Castle and I thought we're going to talk about some of the same things here. But basically, 5 years, we've helped over 1 million people experience the joy and confidence that comes from learning something new. But then at some point, we realized if our whole mission is to give people this special feeling of joy and confidence from trying new things, why are we only doing that through crochet? So last year, we decided it was time to experiment beyond crochet kits. I'm not even sure if people realize that, and you'll find out more. So basically, what we realized is we launch a lot. We launch at least twice a month. Our team is incredibly good at execution. Turns out, though, execution muscle and innovation muscle are not the same thing. And so when you've got the same team responsible for hitting deadlines, managing inventory, serving wholesale, inventing something totally new, then the predictable always wins. Inventing something new kind of gets off to the sideline. And it always takes much longer than we predicted. So it didn't get the marketing energy or strategic thought that it deserved. So this year, we are doing things a little bit differently. We have given innovation its own little home. We have created a small, dedicated new product pod called the New CD Pod. Currently has 1 full-time designer in it, soon 2, and then with structured input from marketing, wholesale, and leadership. And their whole goal is to move quickly, ideally 4 to 6 week validation loops. And their job is not to get the perfect thing going. Their job is to figure out if something actually has promise. And so now with this clarity and ownership, people are less stressed all across the board. The core team isn't constantly context switching. And then this new PD team can just focus on solely innovation and not business as usual stuff. The second big unlock this year is brand framing. And the caveat here is this part hasn't launched yet, so I can't guarantee whether or not this works, but I'll tell you the idea of what we are hoping for. So at the Woobles, we've got a really high bar for quality, especially when it's anything related to product or design. And we realized that this type of perfectionism is also part of what slows us down. And again, since we've built all this trust in this one category of crochet kits, we feel the pressure not to dilute it. So instead of trying to force all these experiments onto the core brand of the Woobles, we are creating a sub-brand called Woobles Lab. So Woobles Lab is called that because it's meant to signal to the customers and to our own team that this is exploration. No goals of being super, super perfect. It's thoughtful, it's tested, but it can also evolve. And so there's multiple benefits to doing this positioning. One, operationally convenient for this, we can go faster because we don't need every single launch product to have like the same level of finesse of packaging and things like that as a typical Wool branded product. And then two, we can still leverage customer trust in our brand since people do associate the Woobles with high quality stuff that you can actually wear with. And then also that messaging is double aligned with our brand because the whole spirit of our company is that we're trying to encourage our users to try new things. And so the positioning of Woobles Lab is like, we're pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zone and also trying to do new things, come along with the journey with us. And so now core business as usual team can stay focused on bread and butter. Lab team can move fast without over polishing. General speed on both sides. Goes faster, stress decreases because ownership is clear. So basically the takeaway is just that if you're a brand that's constantly launching but still feel like innovation is chaotic, problem might not be creativity, it's more about structure and giving innovation a home, dedicated time for noodling, safe space to fail. And so for us, growth isn't just scaling what works, it's also building that muscle, the courage, and the internal structures to try something new.
How did you just put that? The launching a creative might not be the problem. The problem is, how did you just put that? That was fire.
Structure. Sometimes it's not creativity, it's the structure.
Come on. All right. Jot down that note. Yes, this is all going to go out. We are going to have, the replays, et cetera, et cetera. Justine, huge mad fan. I can't wait to hang out with you later this week for something else as well. We're going to take Justine down and bring on up next Katelynn Ludwig from Dude Wipes. Another absolute hitter. Talk about some creative genius in the house. All right. Katelynn, you've seen I'm going to give us a fresh clock. Give me a holler.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me all right?
Loud and clear. It is yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Justine. You kind of said something incredible, and I want to just rephrase it. So you guys are pushing yourselves outside of your comfort zone, and that's exactly what Dude Wipes does on the daily. Constantly, that's at the forefront. We are extremely comfortable with being uncomfortable. Dude Wipes doesn't grow by running any more ads. We grow up showing in these places where wipes absolutely have no business in showing up in, right? So we're there in all of the unexpected situations. So my number one is unexpected. We show up where wipes don't belong, where brands are afraid to go in and chat. We call these moments lightning strikes. So partnering with the Browns or WWE, Dom Mysterio partnership, we're showing up where fans are not expecting us whatsoever. And we're constantly doing this. This is what moves the needle for us. We are heavy into number two, cultural. We insert ourselves into moments that people already care about. Like I mentioned, WWE, we just launched a huge partnership with Dom Mysterio. The first teaser out on Monday Night Raw, it was just like a tiny little logo on Dom's lower portion of the shirt, and everyone was going crazy on Twitter. Now, last week, Monday, we were just launching it out fully, and now we have like 20 PR articles out about us. So it's really about being in those cultural moments where people care about something, and now we're just interjecting the brand. Number three, irreverent. So continuously having that brand voice, bold voice, unapologetically dude. We don't take ourselves too seriously, and we remain that same way, whether we're talking to our customers, our PR agency, or if we're talking to retailers. And obviously this voice shifts a little bit, right? As we talk to these different people and personas. But at the end of the day, we're still unapologetically dude. And that's what makes it so special to be
a dude and using dude wipe products. Number 4, familiar. So recognition reduces friction. Familiar brands convert. So we're constantly trying to be in that forefront. So if you're on Instagram, you're going to see one of our influencers. If you're on TikTok Shop, you will see one of our affiliates posting, or you will see us on live because we're live 6 days a week. We are constantly there. We are that familiar brand in the back of your mind when you go to Walmart and you're shopping the TP aisle. You will remember, dude, and you will pick us up. And then lastly is default. Goal is habit, and we are constantly growing the share of anus. So here's the one thing is we love to talk about share of anus. We know our household penetration in the United States is strong. And the biggest thing to grow this brand is really amplifying the share of anus, which means getting more people in your household to use dude wipes, using more dude wipes, growing that share of anus. So instead of that mom going to the store and she's only picking up 1 3-pack, she's now going and picking up that 6-pack once a week, twice a week, twice a month, whatever the case is. And we are becoming that automatic choice that people are looking for. So we don't discount. We're not on promo. We're constantly that automatic choice. People want to have dude on the back of their toilet. And showing up, like I mentioned, in all these crazy spots, stadiums, festivals, retail shelves, bathrooms, college campuses. You might find us at your WWE, but you also might find us at your UFC gym and everything in between. We're trying to show up in all of these different unique spots, but where you are going to use in the bathroom, because that's where you meet us. So another big piece for us is sampling strategy. I don't want to go too far to give the competition any headway, but strategies of sampling is huge. So I come from a long history of the beverage space, and liquid to lips is that phrase that we all use. We want everyone to try the products and they'll convert. We're talking over here wipes to butts. So as many wipes to butts as humanly possible for 2026 is the goal. And you will see us everywhere. We're already planning on it, and more to come on that. And I guess I'll leave you with this. Our goal isn't to sell wipes. It's to become the brand people expect to see everywhere butts exist. So when the moment comes, there's no decision left to make. It's just dude wipes.
And don't get it twisted, people. But the thing I want to stress right now, because it's easy to like, these are shitter brands that are coming in. And Katelynn, right? It's like, oh, we're playing with an unfair deck. I remember hearing Sean talk about doing this back in the day, doing it scrappy, doing it with like scraping together 5K for the first buy. And I can't remember if it was the UFC fight or what it was, but it's like, that's the kind of stuff that like it's not about the dollars that you've got. It's about creating those memories, breeding that familiarity. Fabulous. And I'm going to follow up with you to find out what sort of wipes we can get for the butts that are here today as well in the aftermath. But
we'll definitely do it.
Down, Katelynn, thank you very much. And bring on up Katie from another one of the stands. My goodness. I don't know how many times I post about Grunes, but oh my gosh, they have got me and I am not mad about it. Grunes, Katie, are you ready? Can the people hear you?
Yes, can you hear me?
Beautiful. Let's go.
Amazing. Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Cirulli. I am the Chief Emerging Brands Officer at Grunes. For those of you who are not familiar with Grunes, I would be a little bit surprised because I feel like everyone I know has received like 70 ads from us, but we are a daily multivitamin greens gummy. We come in this little sachet of 8 adorable, tasty gummies. A little bit more about me. I joined Grunes almost 2 years ago. I was a 4th employee here and got to grow Grunes to over 300 million in run rate revenue in less than 18 months. And now in my current role, I actually get to run that back and lead strategy and growth for all of our emerging brands. So that includes our Grunes Kids brand. We have our nootropic product, Nootropes. We have our pre-workout product, Juiced, and then our immunity product, Immune. And we're actually launching 3 more this year and 10 more next year. So lots of fun stuff coming up down the pipeline for Grunes. But what's unique about each one of these brands is they actually are treated almost as separate businesses. So we have separate websites, separate ad accounts, and even separate team members who are dedicated to each one of these brands. And obviously in my role, I spend a lot of time thinking about how can I launch these products quickly? How can we test and learn quickly? And ultimately, how do we know that we have a product and messaging that is ready to scale as big as Grunes, if not bigger? And so I'll start by saying how I see most brands launching new products, which is this big splash. We have a big moment, lots of inventory, upfront brand and marketing spend, and we often spend months, even years, trying to perfect every single individual aspect of a product. However, the issue that we kept coming back to is you don't actually know if a customer is going to purchase your product and then come back and repurchase it until your full funnel is live. Because the ads, the benefits they feel, the price they see, the retention efforts that you're running, those all impact a customer's propensity to purchase. And so at Grüns, we noticed with this traditional launch approach, if you wanted to go back to the drawing board, it felt really expensive and often unrealistic to do. So we wanted to come up with a process that helped us get around some of these pain points. So at Grüns, we do not treat launches like moments. We treat them as systems designed to test and learn. We don't ask ourselves how big or how much revenue can we do in the first month, but instead, what does this product need to prove in order for us to scale it? For this, we follow a really intentional playbook, which I'd love to go into a lot of detail, but with the 5 minutes I have, I'll highlight a few of my favorites. Number 1, product seeding. We love getting our product in our loyal Grüns customers' hands as well as influencers and creators' hands. 1, to get feedback, but more importantly, we want to cut up the content and then throw it into our ad account and make sure we are testing and learning at a very low cost. The second thing is we want to make sure we have an appropriate amount of inventory. This for us means that we have enough inventory to fulfill subscribers' orders, but not so much that we have a bunch of leftover products should we decide to change the product. The third thing is we always launch D2C first. This is where we're closest to our customers, where we get the best data and insights, and then we can use that data and insights to put that back into our product and change the messaging if we need to before we launch on Amazon or in retail. And then the last thing that I definitely should have mentioned first is we are extremely disciplined on LTV to NCAC from day one. So we can, we have an LTV to NCAC North Star that we as a business follow. We can calculate the estimated LTV based on the other products that we've launched. And then we have an NCAC range that we're comfortable playing within. And anytime we start to veer outside of that range, that's a cue to us that we need to change up our product, our messaging, or our channel strategy before we continue scaling the product. And I'll go with a quick example of our immunity product that we launched back in September, just to kind of show how this process plays out at Grüns. We launched the product and we actually quickly sold out, which we had enough to fulfill our subscribers' orders, as I said, but not so much that, we were left over with a bunch of extra inventory. And as we started digging into the data, what we noticed is our customers were actually taking the product daily, when all of our research suggested that they were going to take the product more seasonally or kind of throw it back before or after travel. And so we were actually able to go back to benchtop, reformulate the product for daily use, and then relaunch in under 3.5 months. And of course, there was some inefficiency with this, but we feel like we avoided a much bigger cost, which was scaling the wrong version of a product. I'll close this out with a phrase we use internally, which is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. To some, this may seem like an overly conservative or slow approach to launching products, but in reality, it is our way to smoothly launch a product so that we know we can scale even smarter and faster in the long term. That's it. Thank you.
What is smooth? Smooth is fast. I spent some time in the military. That was drilled into me over and over and over again. And what a brilliant application of all of that. Yeah, I'm hook, line, and sinker with you wonderful folks. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put up a fresh 5 minutes. We're going to take down Katie and bring up Jonathan Packer from Goat Foods. Jonathan Packer, hit that accept button. Come on up to the stage with us. You know how this is rolling. Let us hear your beautiful voice.
Thanks, Aaron. Could you hear me?
Absolutely. Let's hit it.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Packer, one of the co-founders at Goat Foods. Goat Foods is a parent company to a few brands. Great to come after Katie from Grüns, but I think we still hold the trophy for the most brands. Maybe with 10 coming up from her, I think she might win. But licorice.com, pretzels.com, caramels.com, chocolate.com, taffy.com, truffles.com, cookies.com, and cashews.com. So 8 brands currently live. Talk quickly about that strategy. My feeling is get brands live quickly, test with everything nowadays with AI, all that stuff. really easy to get brands live, test quickly, ask customers what they want. So every brand that we launch, we always ask customers, our customer base at that time, hey, do you want cashews next? Do you want taffy next? Shop.com next? And that's what we went with. That's how we launched the brands in that order. So very much in favor of talking to the customers, asking what brands they want or products what they want next, because that inherently gives you a great customer base. When you launch the product or the brand, and very easy to sort of forecast where you're going from there. I want to touch on next something that we are actively working on for 2026, which I think is super important for all brands, all e-commerce brands. Somebody said to me a line about a year ago, which really resonated with me. The difference between an e-commerce business and, let's say, business that's selling into wholesale is the data. All the data that you have, it's factual, right? So the person's name, last name, their address, phone number, or email, and then any data that they're giving to you, whether it's on a post-purchase survey or which UTM are they coming from, which attribution are they coming from, do they spend time on Facebook or TikTok, any CX interaction that they have, whether they said that they love this product or they didn't have such a great experience with your product, any email or SMS interaction that you had with them, and are they self-consuming it or are they gifting it to somebody? Those are all factual data points that you have, which I think is super important to put onto a customer table. We are actively building out our customer table so that when we go and deploy messages to our million plus customers, we are making sure that the message that they are getting is, I don't want to say tailored because I think tailored is way too specific, but speaks to them in a way that they feel that is relevant, right? So if I'm just giving a real life example from my business, right? If I'm a gifting customer, right? Our business is between there's self-consumption customers and there's also gifters. So if I'm a gifter, right, I'm always sending gifts to my cousins, aunts, whoever it is. I don't really want to talk. I don't really want to get an email about, hey, sign up for a subscription, because that's just not it, right? So we are actively building out this customer table with every interaction that they had with the brand, where they came in from, and anything that they've said about us, whether it's on a post-purchase, any information that they gave us on a post-purchase survey or whatever. So that is something that we are really excited for 2026. And the next thing, with just a minute left, one thing that we launched at the end of 2025, which has taken off and very transformable for the business, is our club membership. It's very much like a Matsko membership, where you pay $10 a year and you get benefits. The biggest benefit is free shipping on each subsequent order. And that early cohort of customers that are opting into a membership, LTV is 5x compared to the cohort, that not membership cohort. So this has been super transformable for our business. We're really excited about it. There are other perks like early drops to new brands, other products, but really excited for membership at Goat Foods, and also very beneficial because you could use your membership across all brands.
Literally going to ask, is it transferable across that goated list of .com that you mentioned at the very top, and then you brought it in? That's how you land the freaking plane. My goodness, Jonathan, living into the name, literally. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to hit a fresh 5 minutes, and we are going to bring on Emma Nelson, COO at Mud Water.
Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear. It's yours.
Awesome. Good to see you again, Aaron. So today I'm going to share with you guys a framework for getting the most out of your highest spending customers. So I'm going to call them your whales, and we're going to talk about feeding them.
So I feel like in D2C, everyone talks about customer acquisition, right? But in reality, you can get revenue from two places: acquiring new customers or making more money with the ones you already have. And I think a lot of brands and many brands obsess over the first lever, but the more profitable brands arguably master the second. So your whales, like I said, they're going to be your highest LTV customers. They convert the fastest. They don't cost anything to sell to, right? You already have access to them via email, SMS, etc. So you can bring them into your new products without any ad spend and ad dollars. And perhaps most interesting about them is that they have the ability to influence others. So they're going to share their excitement about your product with their friends and their colleagues, like true word of mouth marketing. They're the customers, if we use some of our D2C darlings, right? They buy every comfort drop. They've got the airplane hoodie in every color, right? They've got the full Hexclad kitchens. They've got the pans. They've got the knives. They've got the cocktail shaker, and they're cooking dinner for their family in the Hexclad apron. They're not casual buyers. They're your believers. And at Mudwater, some of our most meaningful growth moments have come from when we've leaned into these customers and not just leaned into ad spend. The framework I have for you today, it has 4 components. First, you want to identify your whales. Then you want to listen to them. You want to build for them. And then you want to delight them to generate positive word of mouth. And like I mentioned, first part, you've got to identify your whales. So I would encourage you to go into your storefront, dive into your top 5, 10% of customers by lifetime value that are still active. And you'll find customers here who didn't just buy your hero product, but they came back for accessories. They bought the limited edition, the seasonal drops. They've expanded across categories, right? So at Mudwater, there are people who aren't just purchasing our original blend, but they're also purchasing our protein powder, and they're coming back for decadent pumpkin spice drops. They buy faster. They're not waiting for discounts. They're truly bought into your identity and your brand. And so at this point, once you've looked at these guys, you're not like, how do I sell more? How do I bring more people in? You're like, how do I serve these people better? And so then the next 2 components are what you can move into of this framework, right? You're going to look at how you build, listen, and then build with your whales. So you want to bring them into your process. And I think one of my favorite examples of this, I actually was listening to it on a podcast this morning, was with Brian Tate from Overnight Oats. They've built a Facebook community over 100,000 customers who actively shape their new flavors, right? So they sample, rate, and give feedback to these customers in this Facebook group before they launch products more broadly, which just treats as an incredible product development flywheel for them. They launch tried and true products, driving excitement and repeat purchase, but it's all coming from their best customers who are also starting to, they feel like insiders, right? Which is just a great for brand loyalty. It also shows up a little differently with Tacovas, for example, and their boot ornament. I doubt they had a focus group for that. No real mass appeal probably required, but they're just sitting there being like, we know our customers deeply enough to know that they don't just wear our boots, they live our lifestyle, and they want to express that beyond their footwear. And then, the last tenet of this framework is to surprise and delight your core customers and your whales, right? You don't want to just give them a discount or a bundle. They're going to get that from every brand. They want something special. So imagine sending something in one of their packages, especially if you're a subscription brand, where their first reaction is like, wait, what? I got this, right? And that's going to drive them to share that with their friends and colleagues. And you're not just leveraging paid media anymore. You're leveraging your true believers. And again, like I said before, your original marketing, right? That word of mouth, that loyalty. And when your whales feel seen, they don't just buy more from you, right? They're going to buy more. They buy more from you and they tell their friends to buy more from you. So if I leave you with one action, go in, pull your top 10% of customers tomorrow, email 20 of them, call a couple of them, and I think ask them 3 critical questions. What made you buy from us the first time? Why do you continue to buy from us? And what would you like to see from us next? Because growth doesn't always require more traffic. Sometimes it just requires going deeper. And in this case, it requires going deeper with your whales.
If that 1, 2, 3, what you leave us with is not a clip by the next 2 weeks, I will have failed everybody here. Emma, fabulous, blowing up the chat right now with the whale gifts. Big round of applause. Emma's going down. We are bringing up Mimi from Portland Leather Goods, little known behemoth. I say that very tongue in cheek these days now. Mimi, make sure, can we hear you?
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Oh, fabulous. Look fantastic. Sound fantastic. Let's do it.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Mimi. I am the campaign manager and design director at Portland Leather Goods. We produce high quality leather bags and accessories at a very accessible price. And when thinking about the growth strategy for today, I think I was kind of thinking about like, okay, people, is it tools? Is it budget? Like, where are we with that? And just looking back and thinking about my team specifically at PLG, one of our biggest growth advantages, I think, is our speed. So specifically by shortening our decision and execution process. I lead a creative design team of just 3 people internally, and that same size team handles our largest launches, our peak Black Friday sales, monthly campaigns, like every major flash moment and promotion that we've run over the last 4 years. So internally, we run what I call a core and scale model, which has really allowed us to stay small and nimble internally, but was key in helping us leverage growth in all of our channels. So the core is our internal team, and we own anything that requires like speed, judgment, or deep brand context. And because we sit inside of the business every single day, we already understand like our inventory realities, customer behavior, revenue priorities. And so when an opportunity appears, we don't need a super long briefing cycle, and we can decide what to do in real time. And I think that that is our superpower. The scale aspect is our external partners. So agencies, production vendors, freelancers, those are the people that help multiply, and they handle that volume once the direction is already set. So they extend that reach without slowing down our main decision engine. So to explain what that might look like in real life at PLG, it was Q4, 1 week before our Black Friday campaign had kicked off, and obviously like the busiest time of year for everybody. And our marketing director walked over to me and he was like, "We need to launch this flash sale for our Almost Perfect line," and it had to go live like the very next day, that made me so, I was like, "Are you serious? Like, what are we doing?" Gut reaction, you know? And instead of spiraling into like a 12-step approval process or like a strategy deck, I just opened up my laptop and like, as he spoke, I typed exactly what he said. And he said, "This is the biggest AP sale discount that we've ever had. Legit, truly, we are not messing around." And I put those exact words in white text on a black background, and that was the campaign. There was like no polished photo shoot, no layers of feedback, and we had creative direction in like 5 minutes. So the result of that, we had a 64% increase in returning customers compared to a similar AP sale that we ran the month before. And I mean, the sale, like we probably missed a few opportunities and optimizations, and it wasn't perfect. But the point is that we were making progress even when things were unclear, or, we were moving before the doubt of had slowed us down. And we were trusting our team and the process, even as we were still continuing to build it. So moments like that, I feel like only happen because the decision authority lives inside a very small but trusted core team. And we don't wait for layers of approval. We have those reduced bottlenecks on our team, and we're constantly moving. We're never standing still at PLG. So if there's one practical takeaway that you can test immediately, it's this. It's list the work that your internal team currently does and circle only the tasks that require speed, judgment, brand protection, or brand context. And then everything else is a candidate for a scale partner. So most teams might discover that a significant portion of their workload can be offloaded. And that frees up that core internal team to focus on what actually drives growth, which is those fast, high impact decisions. And I used to believe that some of the fastest growing teams were the biggest ones, the largest headcounts. But for us, it's the ones that are designed to decide and execute faster. Thank you. Saved you a minute.
You did, and I love you for that. I could say more things. We are on a tight schedule. I am not. I will say more nice things later. Mimi is going down. Natalie is coming up. Once Natalie takes the stage, this is our second to last hot seat presenter today. So we're going to hang in for Natalie. We've got one after Natalie, and then we'll unleash everybody into the Q&A sessions with our lovely sponsors. So Natalie, hello, hi. You've seen the jam. Can we hear you?
Yes, can you hear me?
Very much so. It's yours.
Great. Awesome. Okay, well, hi everybody. I'm Natalie Holloway, co-founder of Bala. I'll tell you a little bit more about Bala, but everything Mimi just said, I agree with because that seems like how we run Bala, honestly. So double down on everything she just said. But Bala is a fitness brand, and we predominantly sell to women, although we do have a male audience as well. We sell products like you might have seen our modern wrist and ankle weights. That was our first product, but we sell products from yoga mats to dumbbells and everything in between. And ideally, we're going to qualify the whole gym. So you'll be seeing a lot more from us, like weighted vests and weight plates, all sorts of things. But we launched Bala. I come from advertising. We launched Bala about 8 years ago, and my husband and I launched it, boyfriend at the time, as a total side hustle. And so we knew a ton about brand and marketing, but we didn't know anything about product, running a business. And so what I'm going to talk about today is something that we learned by accident and by necessity, but it's something that if I were to start a brand today, I would 100% do it this way. So it's all about treating your B2B client. First of all, it's having a B2B approach in general. And then it's all about treating your B2B client like your D2C customer. And there's huge unlock to be had there. So basically what this means is first of all, we use Shopify for our B2B platform. And that's something that I don't hear often, but literally all you have to do is copy over your D2C store, make it password gated. And then all of a sudden, people at all times, they're B2B clients, but they're shopping your D2C store. So what happens is the way that your Shopify D2C can blow up, the same thing happens with your B2B site, but there's no friction there. So there's no sales associates. You're literally you're online, and all shops are able to shop there. Not, big boys like Target or Equinox, but all of the independents, like for us, studios, gyms, like anybody that just needs a replen order. Wow, this is not enough time. I have a lot to say. But basically, that's my first tip about just doing Shopify free to be B2B platform. And you also can retarget them and email them about restocks, anything that you would tell a D2C customer, you're now telling your B2B customer. So the way that this helps is that all of a sudden you're not spending customer acquisition cost on your B2B customer. You're emailing them all day. You can then use them as your marketing machine because now they have your products, these independent studios, and they can basically send an email on your behalf, post an Instagram post. They're kind of a walking ad for you. So what we learned early days was that if we sold into Goop, for example, they're then going to be a marketing machine. So it's a way to get marketing out there, but you're really just selling your product. And day one, it's profitable. So let's see. The 4 tips I have for less friction on converting these wholesale customers are: make a simple line sheet, start small and then expand. So everybody always says, I want to get into Target. And yes, that can be on your horizons, but you're missing the hundreds of small retailers that you can reach out to before then. So in our case, again, it's any studio. And so we really treated this middle market independent studios as so important, almost as important as Target, because all of a sudden, we have, 7,600 studios signed up on our B2B platform. So we're just able to retarget those people, really high AOVs, and they're reselling the product. And then let's see the time, 1 minute. I have too much to say. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you with the top 3 reasons to use wholesale. 1, I already said it, but profitable day 1. 2, no customer acquisition cost. And again, you don't have the person that they're reselling to's email, but you have the studio. And then 3, they become your mini marketing engine, and you can use them for events if you need to, influencer activations, content. You can also feature them. We have a monthly studio edit where we feature all of our wholesalers. So that's what I'll leave you with. Thank you, guys.
And the simplicity of doing that via Shopify, B2B, starting with that small, simple list, like we talked about the line items of who you're going to reach out to. It's almost like that, exactly what Boom Boom was talking about with TikTok, the affiliates, what you see on that side, but layering in that idea of whales. And then, my gosh, it's a really, really helpful, practical like transform your business kind of stuff that Natalie just.
And fair. I saw the fair question. Keep fair. Keep all the markets working for you, but just have the Shopify B2B for ease. They don't deal with the wholesale salesperson at all.
There it is. All right, Natalie, thank you. Natalie off, Jamal on. Jamal is our last speaker. Our sponsor Q&A booths are turning themselves on in the background. You can jump over there if you'd like. I'm going to say, don't do it. Let's hang out with Jamal and I for just a moment. Don't do it. Jamal's got 5 minutes on the clock. Sir, you ready to do this thing?
Let's do it. Hey, thanks everybody for joining today. And Aaron, thank you for teeing this up, this opportunity. My name is Jamal Robinson. I'm the co-founder of CV Collection. We're a sunglasses and eyewear brand founded by myself and business partner Jalen Smith. So I'll actually start with a little bit how we started. Is actually a great segue from the previous presenter, which is in retail. So we focused on launching in the retail, specifically for eyewear, landed 250 stores, 500 stores, and now, 500 plus accounts. So my focus from my background and what I was comfortable with, and for this 5 minutes, I want to talk really from an early stage founder perspective for entrepreneurs that are just getting started running their online program. So after we launched and we scaled, it wasn't until this year that I started to focus on direct consumer. So we always had a website, and outsourcing, the activity on our website or our growth was very logical for me because of our growth that we had, through retail. But that was a mistake. And here's why, is because obviously, as we all know, as we're sitting here today, that growth is a key lever, or online is a key lever for growth, right? And so I gave away the execution for one of the key levers for the business. And so if I was starting over today, or if I'm an early stage founder, that's something that I would really think about. And because I was outsourcing the growth, I was outsourcing with freelancers or agency partners. I just didn't know what was good or bad. And so I had no, what I would consider signal literacy when I was getting reports. So that's the first thing I would say when I've learned coming into this phase of growing the business is you have to be in the ad account. You have to know and understand what's working and why it's working. So starting this year, we're at the base level. So I have 2 points I really am focused on, and I would share with, again, any early stage founder. One, take that growth inside. The second thing is we're focused on Meta, obviously, and then TikTok content. And getting in the ad account daily and understanding why things work is essential. There's 3 things I would say on top of that is keep it simple, keep it planned, and keep it focused. And so realizing what are the patterns that are happening within the account and why they're happening, what are the hooks and the angles that are working in getting conversion. And most importantly, delegation is a timing aspect when it comes to building the business. There's nothing wrong with the art of delegation. But again, going back to what I would learn in a key takeaway if I were to start over, that is it. 3 things I would say before I leave here, what you can do today. If you are a brand and if you're not on TikTok or you're dabbling with TikTok, launch into TikTok. Get into TikTok and start today. Post every single day. For me, it was intimidating in some parts because, again, just like running ads, I didn't know what I didn't know. But that is a core takeaway that I would say every founder, every founder-led brand, every early stage company needs to be not only in the ad account, but also running a strong TikTok A. The second thing I would say is campaign. Map out your whole month. So not just Black Friday through Cyber Monday at the end of the year, but literally map out every single month. What are the campaigns I'm running? What are the angles that I'm testing? And then take that feedback, take those signals, and then you can use that obviously into your ad account, but also planning for the next year. The third thing is focus. We're a small team. And again, I'm an early stage founder. So when I see all of the opportunities and what's working for other people online, that can be distracting. And so a core thing I would say, taking away from, again, anyone that's just getting started or being an early stage founder, or actually wherever you're at in your business journey, is having that clear focus on how you're going to execute against the plan. So those are the 3 tactics I would take away: the mistakes I made as we were growing our business, and then what I'm doing today to course correct that. Keep it simple, have a clear plan, and have a really delegated focus on what you're going to do for that plan.
Love ending with that level of honesty, that voice too. I don't hate it, Jamal, at all. And round of applause. Thank you for Jamal. Thank you to all the rest of our panelists. We're going to go ahead and take Jamal down. Folks, ladies and gentlemen, my gosh, I see, a few people starting to roll back in here. The executive leadership session is still rolling. I made sure that they didn't have a hard stop for another 3-4 minutes or so. Mops are still absolutely ripping. Those gentlemen, always a crowd favorite. Come on, people want tactics. Let's go. And finance and operations just shut it down. So I am joined, honestly, by 2 people who I would say don't need an introduction, because one already got an introduction today. That was my dear friend, Matt from Fulfill. And also, I told you, you probably thought, listen, you 50 or so, 100 now people, whoever's filtering back in, you think I was joking when I said we have a special guest. Curtis, what's happening, sir? Who are you?
I'm Curtis. I'm the CEO and founder of Portland Leather Goods. I'm sitting down here in Leon, Guanajuato, Mexico, at my artisan factory where we make millions of bags a year and sell them on our website.
Yes, my goodness. And you are looking crisp and beautiful. You always look great, but gosh, you're looking crisp.
Well,
these
thank you,
days.
sir.
All right. Well, I told these 2 gentlemen here, why don't you come on in? We actually threw the link at Curtis earlier this morning and said, you doing anything for 15 minutes? And he said, I am. I'm doing really important things. But for you, Matt, Aaron, I'm down. Okay. Now, I have a few sort of like after party, basically like the few big ideas that I took away from today that I want to distill, because that really helps me a lot. And if you've got questions in the chat, the lessons you learned or anything you want to, especially go after Curtis. If you've got questions, go ahead and drop that in as well. And we'll basically just, we'll talk till we drop is the idea here. We'll go as long as you wonderful people keep hanging out. Okay. We're past 100 now. So yeah, I heard 3 big repeated themes today. I heard speed, expansion, and disproportionate in various forms. Now, on the speed front, I think the example that most stood out to me, and I'm going to throw this over to Curtis, was Justine from the Woobles talked about they are launching this year. And she was so great about how she said, I don't know if that's going to work or not, because we're launching it right now. A sub-brand, Woobles Labs, which said the reason for that was we're very creative when it comes to our products. They have to be, right? The crochet, I mean, the way that they are very perfectionist when it comes to their products. She said the problem wasn't a lack of creativity. What we needed was a new structure that loosed the bounds of perfectionism. So that's why they launched this sub-brand, to sort of lighten the load of perfectionism while still maintaining brand trust, speed, getting after it. Now, Curtis, there's one human I know in the world who is a fan of speed. How does that hit you? And speed, what role does speed play in growth?
I just know I'm going to read Matt's thing backwards, and I put all these together, right? And thanks for the Trumpian all caps there, Matt, in your speed, expansion, disproportionate. I appreciate that. No, I do disproportionate expansion with faster than anyone can imagine. Okay? Here's the thing. I hate the word structure. Now, if you run a couple $100 million company, you better have structures, right? But structure only limits you down. It holds you down. Everything can be done faster and bigger than people think it is. We talked about this earlier. I know I've talked to Aaron about this before. We talked about disproportion. No, when I talk about speed, number one, you know this for a fact. I believe every day I'm missing out. The day I'm not at work, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, going, something is going wrong. But I know that I'm only going to grow $1 billion company over 10 years. Does that make sense? So you have to hold both of those things in your hand at the same time. Nothing makes sense in business. You must hold them. It's going to take me forever, but I need to work my ass off right now. When I say go, 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 I mean, hey, I want to do this. When I leave a meeting without giving them a timeline, they think I'm talking 2 weeks. If they don't have it back to me that day or the next day, I've moved on. My brain has went on to something else. Speed is now or right after what I'm doing right now. I do that. So when Aaron says, do you want to come on here and talk to people? I say, yes. And I literally had a line of people at my office door, an alarm went off, and I sent them out and said, it's time to talk to Aaron. We do things fast. You have to. If you're really an entrepreneur, shit's going too slow. You have to patiently speed the hell up. I believe that. Everything's about speed.
Do you have to offset that with, say, like key roles around you, or is there a point at which that speed can become a detriment if you don't have folks that are saying, what's the due date and the deliverable and who's doing it?
No, I don't believe that at all. I believe you have to become a people learner, because everyone's going to understand. They're, oh my God, he's frantic. He's moving too fast. They always have that. So you have to say, hey, I know that you guys are overloaded. I know you're doing a lot of things, but you're also the most capable person I have. And this is why this speed on this new or this new marketing or this new product is going to make us more successful. We need to do both things at once. I know your job description is this 18 things. Congratulations. Number 19 is bigger than all of those. And I need it done fast, but you're capable of doing that. That's why this is a people game. It's not just I send out and say, do it. You explain why you need it, what you need, why the speed is going to benefit. And you say, wow, hey, your life is going to get easier and then harder when we do this because our company's going to blow up. I always say this, numbers mean nothing. When I tell my people this, I'm like, if you give me the exact number of products I need, it's too few. Why? Because having the right amount of products is only going to make us more successful, which means we're going to get more orders. We need to go faster. Always.
Now, if you're just joining us in, I saw a new wave hit. I'm expecting another wave here in just a second. We're talking with Curtis Matsko from Portland Leather Goods. He's coming through crisp and clean. Matt from Fulfill. Curtis was just talking about my first big takeaway of the day, which was speed. Matt, you've worn a variety of hats, and yes, very much pun intended with that beautiful cap you got on today. Now, you have worn a lot of hats at a very fast-paced startup world. I mean, obviously on the SaaS side of things, you're not dealing with physical products, but how do you relate to what Curtis just said about that speed coming from the top down at the leadership level and then understanding it as the person who has to execute it at various levels?
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things in terms of driving speed and urgency is just asking questions, right? So instead of, hey, this needs to be done today and coming top down, if someone that says, hey, I'll do it this week, like just asking the question, like, why can't it be done today? Or why can't it be done tomorrow, right? Force other people to justify why they need that extra time, because tasks will often take the time that they're allocated for, right? And so if people start thinking about, hey, I'm going to do this, and they just say end of week because they have a lot on their plate and they don't want to, commit to doing it right now, you have that forcing function to just ask, like, why does this need 3 days? Why can't it be done in 3 hours or 3 minutes? Like, force someone to justify for that. And that can also bubble up, hey, do we need new tools? Do we need new processes? Is something unclear? Do we need more people? So I think just asking that question is a great way to drive urgency.
Okay. Yes. The chat's blown up with actually get curious. That's such a good point. Because one, the question disarms someone because you're seeking new information. And so you're not saying, no, go F and do it kind of thing. And then what you just said is actually really kind because you're not just putting the person on the spot. You are, but you're doing it in a I'm seeking new information sort of way. But then you're also uncovering what are the bottlenecks and what isn't working. And that list you just gave of resources, man. Okay. Fabulous. So speed, number one. The second one that I heard was expansion. And I got this primarily from Mimari, who talked about Caden Lane, baby, young children clothing, expanded into a few years ago, adult jammies as well to match the whole family. And she talked about you build AOV with products, you expand AOV with products, variants, patterns, sizes, etc. Like literally being able to go from an infant, right, into a toddler, into a so you're expanding the AOV, but it's products that are really unlocking LTV is how she described it. So now expansion, products, categories. Curtis, you folks are just absolute monsters on the releasing of new products. How can somebody do that if they're not sitting in front of what appears to be football fields worth of their own manufacturing? How do you think about expansion?
I think about expansion all the time. I built this so I could expand faster. And I was just having this conversation with Maverick. And I said, you don't understand how hard it is to release 4,500 new variants a year, like 9 a day. Like, that's great. Like 12, 13 a day. Let's make it, do it, photo it, put it through this. That's crazy. And he said, yeah, hard sucks. That's why nobody else does it. That's why we're kicking their ass on return customers, right? Like, we had to do that. We don't do all those variants for new customers. They buy the same old shit. We do that with return customers who want something new because we want to get that LTV up, that average order value, give them something new. That's why we do that. So the expansion is always there. Yes, you have to expand more of what you have, but we're going into footwear. We're going into luxury bags. We're going into selling operators' hats. We're doing anything that we could make a little more on that, because once people trust your brand, they want more from you. They just want more from you. Like, they don't want to go make a new decision. We only have about 12 decisions a day that we really want to make. What do you want to eat? I don't know. I had to do that all day this time. What do you want to, I don't know. What do you want to watch on TV? I don't know. Like, we don't have that many decisions. Once they know who they like to buy from, Portland Leather Goods, they just say, I want to buy something. Can I get that from them? That just made my life easier. I don't have to decide anything other than click the button and buy it. So we need to expand to where our customers are going to be so that they have more ability to buy from us. Because I'll tell you what, we already sell a couple million bags a year. So now we have small products, wallets, belts, and all the other things that go along with it. Expansion, critical. Is it hard? Yes. Do you know it's going to work? No. Is some of it going to fail? Yes. You need to do it fast. Of course you have to, right? And I don't mean it to make it sound like it's stupid that you're not doing this. What I mean it is, each step of that, you have to say, yes, let's do it. It's 10 to 12 hard decisions that you can backtrack and not do it. So any major decision is 10, 20, 30 small decisions to actually follow through on what you said you were going to do.
And Matt, oh, come on, my guy, coming with the data. Let's go. Yeah. Matt Bertulli, the product expansion. Fabulous link right there. Matt's an incredible follow. That guy has just been ripping on the Twitters recently. Something got into him. Hard sucks. That's why most people don't do it. Hard is almost a moat in some ways, right? Because it like cuts out, I would say 90 to 95% of everybody else. If you're just willing to do the hard things, hard sucks. That's why most people don't do it. On your side, Matt, besides trying to tempt Curtis into making us more dope, operators gear, expansion, right? What are the lens that you look at, whether it's physical products, D2C, or in your world, the SaaS, the serving of those businesses on the expansion front?
Yeah, I think what people often think about with expansion is the growth, right? How am I driving additional customers, additional top line revenue? And I think the big thing that any growth or marketing team should take into consideration is making sure they're consulting with the operations and finance folks as well, right? Because launching new products, launching new countries, launching new retail trading partners, launching new big box retailers, opening up new brick and mortar stores, launching new products, all of those are going to have operational and financial implications in terms of accounting implications, in terms of where that inventory is getting stored. Something as simple as where in the warehouse are the items stored. If you're running bundle sales, are the items on either end of the warehouse? And now the warehouse team is spending so much time running back and forth because they didn't know a sale was happening or they didn't know those products were getting bundled together. So I would just say anything expansion related, making sure you're talking cross-functionally with other departments.
Well, and I'll tell you too, that's one of the reasons I love having Taylor Holiday here is like, if there's one evangelist out there in the world trying to bridge the gap between marketing sales on the one hand, who is dyed in the wool marketing and sales, right? Along with finance and operations, and the way those two worlds overlap and need to communicate and hold one accountable. Man, he dropped a piece off to find it and track it down. It was at a CFO summit. It was for chief financial officers. And he was like, when the growth plan doesn't hit day 1 January, you need to have the authority, finance people, to go to your marketing peeps and be like, how are you going to make this right? How are we going to make this right? So it's like that tension on both sides, expansion. All right. Last one that I've got is on disproportionate is the other theme, the third and final theme that I heard run through all of today. So we had Emma from Mudwater talking about how to identify your whales. Go pull your top 5 to 10% by LTV of your current active customers. So forget the folks that are outside of the repurchase window. If they're lapsed, they're lapsed. Your current active customer files, top 5 to 10% LTV. That was how she described it, to go find and identify your whales, serve them, develop products for them. Yes. Natalie from Bala talked about, and this was in a sense almost felt scrappy, where she said, go turn on Shopify B2B. Turn it on. Create a short, simple list of smaller retailers that you can start attracting into your B2B funnel. And she said, for us, it was, darn near like instant profit, instant scale, disproportionate, right? Order sizes and reliability given their sizes. Okay. So, Curtis, thoughts on disproportionate. How's that hit you?
My first thought is the disproportionate things that Matt is putting in the comments over there while you're talking. Well done, sir. I'm just watching pop up. I'm like, who the hell is writing all this stuff? I think a lot of people misunderstand what disproportionate is, or what a lot is, or what a shitload is. It is, you start with where you're at and you think, well, I do a little bit more, 10, 20, 30%. That's the wrong way to look at it. You have to go up there in the universe and look back at our little tiny planet to realize what more is. And I view it this way. I got in the car with my girlfriend and we're driving. And I said, where are we going? And she said, I know where we're going. I typed it into the computer. So it's on my dashboard. It shows me where we're going. I'm like, I would feel better if you told me where we're going. She's like, just follow the thing. Well, I just followed it and it felt wrong. In a half hour, we got to the wrong restaurant because they have 2 restaurants and she typed it in wrong, right? I wanted to zoom out and see the whole city and know where we're going. So if we get off course, I can say, I think we're going in the wrong damn direction. I do that with everything. When I say we're going to sell some footwear this year, or we're going to sell this line, it's only going to do 2 million. They'll say, well, we should put a couple people on that. And I'm like, no, where is that going to be in 1 year and 2 years? 20, 30, 40 million. Okay. Our retail is only going to do 25 million this year. Do you think I want to equate that with 2 people working on something that in 2 years is going to be that? I want a team. I want a big team. I want them disproportionately smart. I want numbers. I want everything more and bigger now because it's going to pay off in the future. You need a lot to start with, a lot, so you can get rid of the things that aren't working. You can get rid of this and you can do it 10x. I wish there was a better round number. The goddamn metric system's thrown us off. We think 10x is enough. It's not. You have to do more until you just literally cannot take any more. More is so much your brain can't grasp it. And I know I sound like I'm just a freaking hype man here. If you've worked for me and you've been in the room with me, you know that I talk the shit every day. And people are like, oh, Curtis really wants us to do this. No, I want this. Okay. You don't sit in your garage and say, hey, I want to have a company that does 1 million. The very first employee I hired stood in oil on the garage floor. And I said, we're going to be $100 million company. And she's like, dude, you can't even pay my taxes. You're handing me cash at the end of every day. And I'm literally working in your single car garage. We're not going to be $100 million company. And she was right. We're going to be a 200 and a 400 and a 500, right? You've got to be planning that shit ahead of time. You got to see where the road goes so that if you get off kilter, if the computer's saying go this way, you don't end up on the wrong side of town.
And Matt, too, because we were talking a little bit about the impact of AI. That obviously runs through almost everything these days, the impact of AI. And I always like to think of it as AI is a multiplier. It's not addition. It's an accelerant. It's not the spark. It's the fuel that'll get you where you're going faster, right? It's not the destination. That's what AI can't give you or create for you. So you better freaking know what direction you're going in, because we're all going to end up getting there faster. And it just, so that the direction, the destination becomes all the more important. And especially that thing of like, it's not addition, it's a multiplier. If you're operating at 0 and you sprinkle in a whole bunch of AI, right, and you can multiply by as many things as you want, if it's a 0 to start, and if it's a negative to start, that's where the slop comes in. That's where, so Matt, any closing thoughts on, lessons you might take away from today, and how it hits you when we talk about things like AI, speed, expansion, disproportionate?
Yeah, I think the big thing with AI and being disproportionate is thinking outside the box more, right? I think a lot of people are still in that phase of AI adoption where we're just asking quick, Google search queries into ChatGPT or Claude, essentially, or saying, hey, build this report or automate this task. But I think to what both of you are saying, what are we doing right now that we could be doing more of that could be a multiplier with AI? Or what are we not doing right now that we didn't think was possible, that maybe in a historical universe, we would have needed 10 or 100 or 1,000 people to actually do, that a team of 1 or 5 or 10 could actually pull off. So I think that's kind of food for thought, is what can you be doing that you're not doing today with AI versus just automating manual flows.
Aaron, Matt, I have to jump in
Go
here.
ahead.
I'm going to jump in here. I say this to my people all the time. The only people that talk about thinking outside the box are in the box, because there is no box. The box is an illusion. Like, it's literally an illusion. Like, there's no box. That's all bullshit. That is just like this. Everything is bigger and more abundant than we can possibly imagine. We create our own boxes, and then we try to think outside of the box that we create. So again, when you talk disproportionate, when you talk about expansion, when you talk about speed, it is literally getting your brain way out there in the middle of something else. So you can look back at the world, yourself, your business, AI, and say, wait, what does AI do now? What can AI do for me in the future? If I'm a genie and I snap my picture, what do I want it to do? Well, it can probably do that right now. But if you spent actually an hour writing down a list, what would I do if I could absolutely have it work? Now, what is possible? And can I hire someone to create that? You can start creating those things. I believe that. Matt, you're good at this. I want to tell you, I really like being on a panel with you, buddy. I really like it.
Take the compliment, Matt.
Trying to hold the ground with the two legends here. So we'll have to do this again sometime.
And Matt is jet lagged as you got to be like, you don't even know. Yeah, listen, if I knew somebody, I would say we should start a podcast. 3 of us. This was way too much fun, gentlemen. Curtis and Matt, we're just dipped below 300 that'll still here with us. You've given us 15 more minutes than we even asked for today. Love the comments that are still coming in. I can't believe you people are live and still chatting with us, but thank you very much. We're going to send out the recordings. We're going to send out the decks, and gentlemen, we will see you, cool kittens and cats, ladies and gentlemen, next time.
Thanks, Aaron. You're always great. Appreciate it, my friend.
Thanks, everyone.